Hello and welcome to this tutorial where we will show how to use Lastools to transform lidar data into raster, and we will also use ArcMap later on. Lastools can be downloaded in this website. It's an open source for some of the tools, including the one we are going to use today. So maybe first a short introduction. LiDAR stands for light detection and ranging, and also called 3D laser scanning. And there are different types depending on platform use, physical process, or scattering process. And based on the platform use, we have 3 different types of LiDAR: ground-based LiDAR, airborne LiDAR, and space-borne LiDAR. Today, we will use airborne LiDAR that has been delivered as LAZ format files. This data was measured in Nes in Hallingdal in Norway by a plane that captured the point cloud, as you see. In this case, it's a 3-kilometer long river, and it's a very good technique to collect large amount of data in a very accurate way. As I said, we will use these LAZ format files. We will go first to LAZ format using Lastools. It's not very user-friendly, but very useful. And then we will use ArcMap to go to raster. If you are familiar with ArcMap, this is straightforward. If not, it will be a bit more complicated, but I really recommend to get familiar with this GIS tool. Also say that you can also go from LAZ format to raster using Lastools, but today I will use ArcMap. So let's open. First I'll show the last data that I used. This is something I created before, but we can delete this now. So we will use these 2 files that have been delivered as LAZ. We will transform them to LAZ. Then I will open the Lastools. It looks something like this. We go to the bin, we see all the application, and today we'll use LAZ to LAZ. That's here. So we open it, and the interface looks something like this. So I will just go to browse, where I will find the files that I will input to the program. I know it is in C, so I go to the C folder, and then users and OneDrive at some point. On Lastools, HECRAS, and data, as I said, in the last data, I have these 2 files that I will include here. And now I have them in the interface. Once we have them inside, I will want to process all files, and I will choose an output location that in this case, I will just use current. So the output files will go to the folder where my input data is. And as a file name, I think I will not write anything, and I think it will just be created with the same name as it had, but with the LAZ format that I select here in this box. And then I run it. It opens this extra interface, and I just click start. And if everything goes well, in my folder where I have my data, LAZ data, this file is being created. You can see that the size is much bigger. This is because LAZ is meant to be a small version of the full data, so easier to send and deliver. So I think this is still running. Yeah, and now we have both created here. So now that I have my LAZ file, I can go to ArcMap to input this. Yes. Okay. Here I have ArcMap, and I will just refresh so my new files appear here. First, I will create in the data that I have here. I right-click in the folder, and I will create a LAZ dataset. I can just leave this default form. What is the LAZ dataset? It's like a box in ArcMap where I will put my files to transform them to the raster. So I double click in the LAZ dataset. I will set the coordinate system as ETRS89, UTM Zone 32. It's very appropriate with Norway. If you are working in other area, it might be better to use something else. You can also use VGS 1984, that is more worldwide extended. But in this case, I will just leave that one. And as a set coordinate, I will also use NN2000, which is the usual in Norway. And then the files, I will add the files that I have just created, that are these two. You can see the extension .las and open. So in this case, we have 35 million points for the terrain and 30 million for the ground. Ground here means bathymetry, so are those points that are below water, that are covered by water in the measurement day. And I think that's ready. I will just press OK. I will also ensure that my layer have the right coordinate system, so ETRS89, just to ensure that everything is the same reference, and I can just drag this into ArcMap. We can just see the extension in red, but it's with actually zooming, not up, but in. The points are here. And now that everything is here, we can transform them to raster. I will use LAZ to raster tool. That is here, LAZ dataset to raster. And as an input, we will use the new LAZ dataset that we created. Takes a little bit of time. Just remember, we are working with big amount of data, so I guess you have to be patient sometimes. Yeah, and now it's here. There has been created an default output raster. I prefer not to change those. If it is an output raster defined as default, I just leave it like this, and then I will save my own where I want, so it doesn't create problems with the name that I can set. The value field is elevation, that is correct, and in the binary we will use average. And for the void field method, we will use the natural neighbor. I'm choosing this default because there was a previous master student that did a study on which settings what better to use to interpolate this radar data, so we will use just both. I don't think there are big difference between all of them, but just to pick something with a reasonable criteria, we will use this one. Then the output data type was float, so we allow decimals, the raster to have decimals. And the cell size, this is an important setting. The cell size will define how accurate and precise is our raster. It is very influenced of how is dense is our point cloud. In this case, because this is just to show, I will choose a very coarse cell size. So let's just write 3 meters. Maybe for this will be more appropriate, like 0.5 meters, but as this is an example, just to show how it works, I will use 3. And I can press OK. And now we can see down here that it's working. Maybe you cannot see it in the video, but if I make it a... you can see here the... Okay, yes. It will come soon. It's still working on it. And here we go. If I unclick that one to see what I have below, this is my raster. I can right click and zoom to layer. And here we can see the raster that has been created. You can see obviously that some interpolation has been done in this area because here we had no data, but this we could clip later on if we want this data set to look nicer. To save my raster, I will go just to data, export data. These settings, I just leave them like this. I will choose a location that I consider appropriate. I think in the folder that I had before. Data, raster, this is a good location, raster and alt. And yeah, newslet, this can be a good name. I could change the name if I wanted to, like try one raster and save. Yeah, why not? And then our raster has been added here. We can also see that in the folder that I had before, raster, we can see the try one raster that I just created. So this is it. I hope it helps. And now you know how to go from LiDAR data to raster. Thank you very much.